Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. Michael Reed will be joining us later on, but the Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listofrederick.com. But we are rejoined by the funniest man that covers the Washington Commanders, Mr. Michael Phillips of the Richmond Times Dispatch. How are you doing on this wonderful Monday evening, Michael?
Hey, beautiful out here. Yeah, having fun, and got to chat with Ron Rivera, Martin Mayhew earlier today. I like the unpredictability of this draft. I think it's going to be a really fun weekend. I also appreciate, there's no, big high pressure on number 11. I think whoever they take, everybody's going to be like, all right, cool. That makes my job. We don't need a hot take here. They could botch it. They could botch it. Don't get me wrong. They could botch it. But I think, there's 6 or 7 guys they take and be like, yeah, cool.
That's exactly how I feel, Michael. There's a bunch of quality guys there, and there's only a handful that I wouldn't. There's no reason to get this off in a negative stretch. But one of the answers that Ron Rivera had today, I think it was in Ben Standig, regarding the drafting of a wide receiver, would that implicate anything with Terry McLaurin's contract? And his quote back to him, I'm paraphrasing, was whatever happens in the next coming days or after. So, Michael, that makes my brain turn a little bit. Is there any possible way that Terry McLaurin's contract, they're starting to talk right now?
Great news. They're starting to talk. Bad news. This is going to take a lot of money and a lot of time.
Oh,
very encouraged that the talking is taking place, is going on. And certainly I wouldn't expect anything immediate or urgent, because this is a big complicated deal, and certainly there's it's going to involve a lot of money, but everybody's pulling for this one to get done. And the right answer to say, hey, we can draft a receiver and sign Terry, those aren't mutually exclusive, and I think that's correct.
Right, and kind of to piggyback off of what you just pretty much said and laid out there, I'm going to paraphrase again. I think Ron pretty much said that it would be luxury pretty much because you're going to get Curtis back, he thinks. He's going to have Logan Thomas coming back off the injury. So drafting a skill position would, like I said, paraphrasing, would be a luxury to have on top of those guys. So my question is, do you think that's just kind of just coach talk right now, just kind of propping up the wide receiver room? Or do you really think that and they're going to go defense at 11, or do you think that wide receiver is still in play at number 11?
My read has always been defense at 11, but man, if they have a guy and they like a guy, and certainly there's some guys to really like in that group, it wouldn't surprise me. So there's your. I'm as good as Ron at giving non-answers. There you go. Yeah, if you made me guess, I'm going to guess defense. But if they took a wide receiver, would it surprise me? No, not at all. They're really good. And what we've seen with the explosion in salaries is you get a guy on the rookie deal. That's now an even better value than it was 5 weeks ago, even, just because of how much these guys are getting paid out in free agency. Curtis Samuel just missed it by a year. Curtis Samuel's a free agent in this cycle. He's probably getting paid twice as much. I mean, that position's gone crazy.
And I know a lot of people like to talk crap about Curtis Samuel not playing a lot, but when you look back at that contract, it's actually not bad at all, given with how productive he was in years prior. But my other question, a lot of the fan base would flip out if O-line was targeted there at 11. But I don't want to ask if you think that will be there, because you don't know what possibly will be on the board there at 11. But how high on the list of needs do you feel O-line is for this staff?
Well, I think we've been a little bit spoiled the last couple of years. The coaching staff has done such a good job finding guys, developing them, and making a great O-line out of not much. So we kind of just expect that. Almost seems like a waste to give them good players. Now, I'm sure if you talk to them, they would disagree. Say, hey, we could do a lot more with some great players. But it does feel like that's a group that's held its own, and say, hey, if it's not a squeaky wheel, don't give it any grace. Don't give it a first-round pick. Sure, you could get a great player there, and that would bolster the whole unit, especially Brandon Sheriff leaving. It does feel like the urgency is a little bit higher elsewhere, though.
Okay.
Right. And during free agency, they were kind of stoic, obviously, with Carson Wentz coming in, taking up all that cap money. A lot of people thought they would address linebacker in free agency to kind of get a veteran guy in there to kind of mix him with the younger guys. So my question is, are you surprised they haven't attacked that position yet? And if so, obviously, I guess it would have to be through the draft maybe. Are you comfortable with them having 3 young guys in that linebacker room, or younger guys, I should say?
Boy, count me in the surprised group. I really thought they'd be a lot more aggressive there, given how important that is, both to this defense and just Ron Rivera defenses in general. That's an important position. And I went to the owners' meetings in Florida. Ron's talking there. He's no, we went back and looked at the tape. We like Cole Holcomb. We think he might be able to be the guy. Like, that is not the message we were hearing at the end of last season. That was not the messaging coming out of there. Is it possible they looked at the tape and had a change of heart? Sure. Is it more likely they looked around and realized they might be stuck with Cole Holcomb and it's time to prop him up? Yeah, that's probably, a very reasonable possibility as well. So I don't think that's a best case scenario. Now, it's tough, though, because, look, you don't want to draft a public opinion. But if they take a linebacker at 11, we're going to say 2 things. 1, they overreached for the guy. He probably could have got him later. And 2, you just drafted a linebacker a year after taking a linebacker. Way to admit you made a mistake last year. Like, it's a tough PR hit to take. So I'm not sure they've got that in them. But I think they need somebody somehow. And I'm with you, Mike. I think a veteran would be a wonderful addition to that room for sure.
Yeah, and there's plenty of middle linebackers or linebackers in this draft, quality ones between rounds 2 and 6. But they only have 6 picks in this draft, Michael, and you know better than anybody the needs of this team. Do you feel like those 6 are going to be enough? Because 2 of them are in the 7th round, and then we're missing a 3rd and a 5th. Do you think those 6 picks are going to be enough to bring in some quality talent at those positions of need?
Yeah, in an ideal world, obviously you want to turn those picks into more picks. But, man, just hearing the league chatter, every single team, it feels like wants to do that this year. I don't think there's going to be value in that, which is a tough thing to say. But they've done very well at the undrafted free agent market over the last couple of years. They've done very well in the late game free agent market over the last couple of years. The veterans who are, come in first week of training camp, second week of training camp. So I certainly give this staff high marks for being able to, make it work later on. Is this an ideal scenario? 6 picks, 2 of them in the 7th round. This is not an ideal scenario. That's for sure.
Right. And jumping back to the press conference with Rivera and Martin Mayhew earlier, just from what they kind of put out there to the media from the questions asked, was there anything else that kind of caught your eye or caught your ear from what they said?
Yeah, I appreciated Martin Mayhew saying he thinks the middle of the draft's very strong. He gave a couple reasons for that. He said that, he thought a lot of college guys came back because of COVID. A lot of them maybe hung around to get that NIL money. That they're coming out into the draft now. So I think that gives you hope that those 4th, 5th round picks or the 4th to 6th round picks can be productive picks and can turn into guys who will contribute on the team, because that's what you're looking for. And then, you always try to, get a little something out of it. I thought it was interesting at the end. Ron talked about, hey, if we had not traded for Carson Wentz, there was one guy who I liked at 11. Now that tells me part of the Carson Wentz deal was you don't know if your one guy is going to be there at 11. Then you're stuck without a quarterback and without your guy. But I'm curious, was it Malik Willis? Was it Kenny Pickett? I hope he shares later, because I would be curious to know who Ron liked of the 2.
I'm sure it's Malik Willis.
I hope it's Malik Willis. Yeah,
I'm right there with you, Michael. And then, we kind of talked about these 6 picks, obviously, but there's one need with DeAndre Carter leaving and going to the LA Chargers. So in your opinion, let's just say they don't get a kick returner, punt returner specialist in this draft. What are your feelings? Like, what's your feeling on what they're going to do at kick returner and punt returner?
Yeah, I think that's where you go for the late game undrafted guy market, and they used a roster spot on it last year. I know Carter contributed some at wide receiver, but he's essentially on the roster as a returner. I liked that, but hey, Ron's already tipped his hand. This is a 3 quarterback roster this year. That's how he views it. You're going to use another spot on a kick punt returner. Hey, you got this Buffalo nickel position. Probably need a couple guys for like that. The spots do add up quickly, and you need a lot of running backs now. That's another thing. You need a lot of running backs now. Those roster spots fill up quickly. So certainly if you're drafting day 2, day 3, and you're looking at a guy and he can give you that, I think that's a real argument for taking him.
Right. And kind of just jumping ahead a little bit into the season, just kind of forecasting out.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, me too. Of the guys coming off an injury, Chase Young, Logan Thomas, and Curtis Samuel, everyone's playing, like, let's say by week 4 or 5, something like that, throughout the rest of the season. Who do you think has the highest impact and contributes to this team the most?
Well, everybody's talking up the Chase Young thing. Hey, this is what Bosa did. The first year step back, second year injury, and then like boom, third year it all clicked for him. And I do think if Chase gets back at full strength, he'll be a beast. So I think you have to pick Chase Young in any question where Chase Young is an option. You're talking about who's going to dominate the most. But I think Logan Thomas is probably my other answer because he's a smart player too, and the smarts are a big part of the game. And so I'd maybe trust him a little bit more to overcome if he's not 100% still being able to be a very productive contributor out there.
Absolutely. And then Phillips, my next question for you, like, what is more likely to not happen in the draft, like based on position, right? So let's just say wide receiver, tight end, and guard. Of those three, which is the less likely to not be drafted?
That's a good question because it's the board is so variable, and then you have those seventh round picks too, where there could be anybody. Tight end's my guess though, because they went with Bates last year, and I do think they like the way he's coming along. I think they envision a bigger role for him. So as long as you feel reasonably good about Logan Thomas giving you something, I think a Bates Thomas duo is perfectly fine / good for these guys coming into the season. I don't think they feel. I keep using the word urgency. I don't think they feel the urgency there to make a move as long as they got those two.
So in your guess, just based off guessing, I'm sure you don't have any inside knowledge to this, but do you feel like Logan Thomas is going to be okay by the start of his regular season then?
I'm going to say he's going to be on at the thing at FedEx on Thursday. Right. So I'll be excited to, see how he's moving around and ask him that myself. But the rehab period on these ACLs has shrank so much. The technology is better. The medicals are better. I think it's almost an expectation now, which is really cool.
Yeah, and it's really great to see. I'm sorry I phrased that question terribly, but you answered it the way you were supposed to.
Oh, we got there.
So obviously the past month or so, there's been a lot of outside chatter about this team, and a lot of it's come from the stadium talks. Has there been any new news on the stadium talks or anything like that lately?
No new news on the stadium talks, which is surprising because we talked about it so much for a while there.
Right.
And some of that is the Virginia legislature got caught up in its own business. They're tangled up in their own mess of a situation, sorting out their budget. So they're just it's got nothing to do with the football team or the Commanders or whoever they are now. I'll figure it out one of these days. But it's just not top of the priority list. So I'm hearing it may even be mid-May before we get an answer there. So I think everything's a little bit on the back burner, but kind of with that knowledge that you want to open in 27, it's showtime.
Absolutely. And then one question I have, a little fun question. What is the press like? What do you do on draft night, right? Like, I can only imagine, I'm sure you guys just watch the draft just like we do on TV, but I'm sure your phone is blowing up.
Yeah, we chirp at each other a lot. Yeah, everything you'd expect. We're watching on TV, and a lot of it is wait. We're just talking about the other picks, right? And then 11 they pick, and it's like boom. Call the agent, call the kid, writing the story, figuring it out. Everything about them, because we all know these kids, but then you gotta know them when they come on the team. So it's we'll get dinner. Somebody make a dinner order. And we'll just be hanging out. We'll be watching, having fun, and then we'll all snap and spring into action. But now we're just hanging out until something happens. So same as everybody else, we're just hanging out.
I like that. I like the sound of that a lot.
Yeah, definitely sounds like a good time. I'm not gonna lie, I had a question. It just completely popped out of my mind.
I got another one for you, Michael. Right, we if you have time for us, if that's okay, just a little bit more, a couple more.
Bring it on.
We had a mock draft on Friday, and it was kind of a wacky one, but we had 9 wide receivers selected in the first round. What would be your guess on the wide receivers there? John Mechie, just to give you an example, was the last wide receiver taken in that first round.
Yeah, 9 feels aggressive, but also you look around the league and teams want wide receivers. It's a copycat league. And everybody watched Super Bowl. I was 2 teams with great wide receivers. Yeah. And it was a big part of how they made the Super Bowl. And so everybody wants wide receivers right now. That's the market. That's the demand. I'm curious if we hit a saturation point in the next couple of years where people are like, hey, college football is producing a lot of great wide receivers. Maybe we can all just simmer down a little bit on wide receivers, but we have not hit that point yet. So yeah, if you were to give me a stab at it, I'd say 7. Things always happen on draft night. But yeah, 6, 7, somewhere in there. It's going to be a lot. I think we all see that coming.
Yeah, I was thinking we might have been underrating the offensive line depth and defensive line there, especially given with how many wide receivers we went. Just typically as fans, we put more stock into wide receivers than I think teams do, especially early on. Sorry, Har, you got that question ready? Sorry.
Yeah, you got that 4 guaranteed. I just want to talk for a minute to make you forget it again. You got the 4 guaranteed, and then it's whatever teams want to do from there. And I bet a couple teams will go for 1.
Yeah.
I did not forget it this time. So obviously you mentioned that like crazy things happen during the draft. If you had to guess, what would be like that one kind of like wild card that's going to happen during the draft on Thursday?
Man, I would love for these guys to have Malik Willis on the board when they pick and trade it for a haul. Like trade it for some 3rd rounders, some 4th rounders, load me up with a lot of those guys later. I know that'll disappoint people who are falling in love with Olave, Hamilton, London, name your guy. It might be a little disappointing, but I think given where this team is, a team that I expect to make the playoffs, and we've been pretty upfront about that the whole time, that would just be a great way to keep that momentum going and keep building it if you could somehow get a team on the hook for that quarterback spot.
Right. And then one of my last ones I have for you here, Michael, let's just want a meltdown of the whole entire fan base right after we release this. But what, in your opinion, percentage chance this team does not draft a wide receiver?
Oh, yeah. Percentage chance they don't draft at all or in the first round?
At all.
It's very low. 5%.
I like the sound of that.
I feel like I need to give a number here, but
no, point has been well taken.
Like I don't think I could say 0 because there's always like things happen, you know. Sometimes just the draft breaks that way, but they're gonna get a wide receiver.
I like the sound of that.
Good. Hopefully within the first 2 rounds. Yeah, so kind of sticking with those wide receivers, you just mentioned that there's probably like a 5% chance they don't draft a wide receiver. But say they don't for whatever reason, do you think that this wide receiver core is good enough with everyone healthy to be out there and be a competent offense with Carson Wentz?
Man, sure. If you have healthy Terry, healthy Curtis, Diami takes a 2nd-year step forward. That is good enough. Definitely. Like, I'll roll with that. You just gave me like 3 massive hypotheticals, though. Like Terry's the surest thing coming here. Oh man, like Curtis is going to be right, and he's going to play 17, and Diami's going to take that big step forward. Like, you're hanging your season on a lot of best case scenarios there.
You're absolutely right, sir. And then my last question for you. Oh my goodness, I had it right here. I had it right here on the top of my head. Oh no, there it is.
That's karma right there.
One of the biggest questions of Carson Wentz coming out of Indy was his leadership, the locker room, and everything. And I forget which one of you guys had a fantastic question to Ron Rivera after workouts on how Carson Wentz kind of vibed with his teammates and how well he gelled there. Have you heard anything? Was it impressive with how Carson Wentz kind of met his teammates?
Yeah, and he's scheduled workouts with them outside of the facility, which you always want to hear. He's going to take them somewhere and do that team building bonding stuff. Because look, we all see how important a fast start is this year. We haven't even seen the schedule yet, but they can't have a 3rd straight slow start, especially with the amount of talent they're going to bring back. And for him personally, where every game's going to be a referendum on him on his 3rd team in 3 years, I think it's very, very important he gets off to a fast start. The work is underway, and you think back to Indy, and look, there were people who really kicked him on the way out of the building, but there were also a lot of players who said, I liked working with him. So, and Philly's its own beast. So I'm prepared to withhold judgment, until we really see what's going on at training camp.
And then my last one for you, Michael, before we let you out of here, a lot around this team, over the past decade and a half, it's been about like players come here just to get paid. It's been the kind of individual basis, not really a team. But with this new round of workouts and with Chase showing up for voluntary workouts, Terry McLaurin, even with his contract negotiation, he was there and even involved with the workouts and with the teammates. Do you think that is an indication of this team actually finally being a professional football team and coming together as one?
Well, Ron Rivera would love to have that for sure. And, that's been a big part of his push is building the culture. And
Right.
I think they had a little bit of a setback in free agency when they got less interest than they expected in name guys coming to Washington.
Okay.
So to have a strong offseason and guys buying in, I think it'd really help them reclaim a lot of that momentum. And look, guys like Terry, guys like John Allen, that's where it starts. Is having guys like that to anchor and build around. And if they re-sign Terry, that's just another indication they're moving further in the right direction.
My man, I speak music to my ears. And then Phillips will also be there on Thursday down on the field. So hopefully we'll be able to get to meet you, shake your hand. I don't think we got to meet you at training camp. We got to meet Selby and Sam Fortier and others. I'm not sure if we got to meet you then, but would love to be able to meet you, Michael. I can't thank you enough for coming in here and joining us and giving us your time. And hopefully that car doesn't come back around and start revving his engine.
Never a dull moment. All right, thanks,
absolutely.
Guys.
Thanks, Michael. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Oh man, I love talking to Michael, man.
Yeah, he's such a good guy, funny guy. It's funny.
Dude, he is, and it's fantastic to be able to speak with him because I feel like Michael has like a different aspect to him and how he kind of looks at things the way I do, especially, when you hear things the way Ron Rivera, Marty Mayhew talk, especially in their press conference, you kind of get a feeling for what they want and what they say, and Phillips a lot of the times like echoes what their sentiments are, and I really do appreciate that a lot. Now, but let's move on to our fan questions, brother, to wrap up this show. We only got a couple more minutes. But let's go. The Colonel actually had a question for it. Yeah, the Colonel had a question for us last week, and I absolutely just went right by it. But this one is for you, Hall. A Kaepernick comeback.
For any team or for us?
From the Colonel. I'm sorry. I completely botched his questions, by the way. I'm sorry, Colonel. But yes, this is from the Colonel. Do you anticipate a Kaepernick comeback to the NFL?
Just the NFL as a whole, or just like for
NFL?
As much as it probably should at least give him a tryout somewhere for a team, and as much as I guess I would probably like to see it, and a lot of other people would probably like to see it. And I know the media is definitely like pushing it and stuff like that. A lot of players are pushing it as well, but it can only go so far if the players and the media are pushing it, because it comes down to the GMs and the owners. We're really just the owners. And I don't see the owners budging on letting him back in just because of the whole like lawsuit thing and like the documentary he just put out recently on Netflix. So would I want to see him maybe get a comeback? And do I think he could definitely be a backup quarterback in this league? Of course, because I mean, look at some of the guys who are still starting now. So I mean, he could definitely be a backup, but do I think it would happen? I don't think so, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I know this question was for you, Hall, but I don't envision it happening. I echo the sentiments of Coach Savage, who he even said he said something I agreed with. I said it from the beginning. If you really want to be in the NFL, and if the NFL was really holding a grudge against you, go play for these lesser leagues and light it on fire. If you're really that good, light it on fire. And literally at that point, there will be nothing for them to say. I mean, Doug Flutie is somebody that did that, right? Kurt Warner, I think, did that as well. So there's been quarterbacks be able to go through the NFL in that aspect, and that would be a great way to prove your point, to say, look, I'm burning this up. I should be over there. Look at your guys you have as backups. And the one argument I would make is essentially, did he want to be a backup? I don't think so. I think when he was in shape, was ready to go, the one thing he didn't want to do was come back and be a backup. And I remember his comments about Ray Lewis and the owner of the Ravens was the reason why they pulled that offer off the table that they had for him back then.
Yeah, definitely. And just think, if they would have done that, who knows? They might not even have Lamar Jackson right now. So
right.
That's just a crazy domino effect. And to your point about, like, I'm actually surprised he never just went up to Canada and played in Canadian Football League, because all you got to do is play 1 year of Canadian football, show you still got it, show you can still play. You probably would have got back in the league a lot faster. But at this point, I don't think he can play in the XFL or like USFL, because his resume and like he's been in the league for too many years as far as like.
Yeah, your microphone went out, Hall. Yeah, it's all right. It'll come back on in a second. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that, because essentially, I'm not going to hate on Kaepernick, because obviously the guy is just out there to make money, and he's doing a good job at it up until this point. I mean, he got money from the lawsuit, didn't he? And he's done a good job in that aspect. And he's kind of he's tiptoeing the line of essentially saying, yeah, I've been saying I want to come back, but I really don't want to, is the way that I'm kind of viewing this whole thing is. And I don't think that there's like is he being blackballed? I can't tell you that. Only he and the NFL knows. But I can tell you what, based off his actions, how I view it. And I'm sure I'm wrong about that because I don't know everything that goes into it.
Right, right.
You're good now.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I'm surprised he hasn't played in the Canadian Football League because he would literally just have to go up there, play one season there to show that he still has the skill set to play in the NFL. He probably would have been back in the league a lot faster or gotten back into the league by now. But I was just saying that I don't think he can join the XFL or the USFL because his resume and professionally is like too long. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of
Oh,
like
is that a thing? Like you can't join it
yeah.
if you've played so many games or whatever?
I'm pretty sure, yeah, because that's how it was with the XFL or like the AAF or whatever it was, one of those lesser joints that kind of folded
The
back a couple summers ago.
AAFL, the one that Washington stole the, the name from, that one?
Yeah.
The San
But
Antonio
now, yeah,
Commanders?
so yeah, I think that I know, right? I think that yeah, he's played too many
So
years in the
stupid.
NFL, or like his resume is like too strong to actually play in those like sub leagues. But again, could have went to Canada, could have played there for a season and jumped back to NFL. But like you said, at this point, I'm not gonna say he's just like putting his name out there to kind of like have his name out in public and get talked about. But do I think he wants to play in the NFL and come back? Of course.
Yeah, everyone
Do I
wants that
think
paycheck.
exactly? Do I think he's 110% committed to it? No. And do I think the owners are 110% committed to it? Hell no. So.
That's a good no right there. You're 100% right about that, dude. And I think, and one name that I forgot to bring, Taylor Heineke was another guy that played in one of those lesser leagues and obviously played well enough to be able to get a job up here, right? I mean, he had a relationship with Scott Turner that showed and proved to be good for him.
PJ Walker as well. He was in the XFL, balled out in the XFL. Got on the roster with the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, that's another one. That's a great one. The next question from the Colonel. As new fathers, this was to Reed and I, but you can chime in too. Just play hypothetical. As new fathers, how would you feel about picking up your young son from the bus stop and discovering that he was being woke at school?
I don't know. It's such a random question. I don't know. It's kind of. I guess I would like. I don't know. I want to hear your response. I don't know.
Well, I first thing I'm going to ask is why isn't he getting enough sleep at home? You know, that's a dad joke. There you go. I knew Reed would like that one too. But honestly, I'm not sure if I would have issue with it because I would like my son to be able to see both sides of the spectrum essentially and being able to disseminate the information and pick based the most logical and with emotion attached to it with compassion, but also with logic and reason, because a lot of times whenever you have policies or these ideals based on compassion, it gets taken advantage of, and the logic then comes into it with smart people are taking advantage of things, and that's why you have to have a mixture. That's why I always say life is about balance. You got to have a mixture of both in order to make a really good determination on what's being brought to you. So I would have an issue with it, of course, but it's not like something like I'm not going to go run down and start yelling at the teacher. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be like that type of dad, but I promise you I probably wouldn't mind my son missing more days at school. That's for sure.
Right. Oh, shit, excuse me. No, I feel you. I mean, yeah, I kind of feel the same way. Like I said, kind of just get both sides of the information, let you just kind of decipher it for yourself. And, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, you're right. And obviously it depends on how little he is. You know, if he's in kindergarten, I mean, obviously, okay, chill out a little bit. My dude's coming home talking about, Dad, where's the pitchfork? I'm like, what are you talking about? All right. Now, our next question that we have is Jeff Miles from the Discord chat, Mike. And his question is, what's your best case scenario by the end of the draft? What positions have we filled? What's needed to make you feel confident in this team as a fan? I think that last question is very, very important. So let's start with that one. What's needed to make you feel confident in this team as a fan?
I would say that, well, obviously they don't have a third round pick, so you got to nail these first two round picks. I would feel confident if they can come away with 2 day one starters, 2 impact players that are going to impact both sides of the ball. So obviously they would probably go receiver at first round, safeties or middle linebacker second round, or safety first round, wide receiver second round. Just two high character guys, 2 high impact players that are going to affect either both one side of the ball or both sides of the ball to come away with that in the first 2 rounds. I think that I would feel pretty confident in the direction they're going heading into the season.
Yeah, that's a really great question, Jeff. Like, what is needed for you to feel good about this team heading into the season? And it's hard to be able to say that, but essentially, I guess the best way for me to say, like, I would feel most confident with this team if we were able to get, I think, 5 picks within the first 5 rounds. If they were able to flip that second and move back and be able to get an extra third and maybe a fifth out of that deal, and then being able to have 5 picks there, I think that puts you in a much better position because of the quality of the talent in this draft. You know, you have it at linebacker, you have it at defensive line. Tight end is kind of heavy in that area as well, and then corners is not a bad position is there as well. And so, like, I would feel much better there. But for example, like, I would absolutely love if they were able to get a starting guard here, because the one thing I am concerned about is having to base it off what we have here and then it being a big catastrophe. But I do trust John Matsko and company being able to get these guys up and running. But I would feel much better, much more confident with another left guard here. And then I know that we all love the linebacker spot. I'd absolutely love that, but I would covet the safety a little bit more to be able to play that nickel back, that dime corner, that somebody that could step in those situations where the offense spreads you out. They want to get you thin. Let's bring that guy in so we can wrap up the ball carries. I'd feel much better. And then a defensive tackle. I feel like that's defensive tackle, offensive line, and then safety. That is my point of emphasis. I know, Hall, you're the complete opposite way of me because you really want another playmaker in there. But the trenches is where I'm concerned about because John Allen, Deron Payne, they're going to get a lot of attention. And I know that Matt Ioannidis and Tim Settle didn't get a lot of snaps last year, but I think times will change. And I think that defensive line will see a lot of action. And that's one area that I am concerned about, especially with the rotation, because we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles in their Super Bowl run. That defense really picked up steam because they were able to have their guys always fresh. Just a continuous rotation. It didn't matter who they were bringing in. They were bringing in a baller, and it was hard to block them, and they were ferocious for all 4 quarters, and that's what you kind of want to mimic with your defensive line. So that's one area that I'm concerned about. So for me, it's offensive line, defensive line, and that safety, that Buffalo nickel kind of linebacker safety hybrid, I think is very, very necessary for this team to be at full strength.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely think that D tackle is definitely a need. I definitely think that if they don't address it through the draft, there's still some guys out there on the free agency market that are veterans and kind of come in, play that rotational role, kind of like a la Tim Settle, Matt Ioannidis did for the past couple of years for us. Or, again, maybe they can find another Tim Settle in this draft and kind of have that guy as a rookie kind of take those steps and keep building with the defense until he becomes a free agent, and then maybe – we re-sign him back or maybe let him walk. He gets a Tim Settle type deal somewhere else. But I definitely would not be mad if they addressed that somewhere between rounds 4 to the back end 7.
Yeah, and the first question to Jeff's was, what's your best case scenario by the end of the draft? And I think I essentially said by trading back in that second, being able to have 5 picks in those first 5 rounds, I think would be my best case scenario. Especially if you're used at early second, maybe on that nickel dime kind of linebacker. But even Coach Rivera in his presser today with Martin Mayhew talked about how in Carolina, that Buffalo nickel position was actually played by a linebacker. Was it Shaq Thompson was his name?
Yes, sir.
And so he played that position. So if you're able to trade back in the second, you're able to maybe get a Troy Anderson who would easily be able to play that position for you based on his speed, flexibility, versatility, and his football knowledge. I think that would be awesome. Or a guy like Jalen Petrie were to fall there. Or Ched Muma. Because just to be gearing yourself in position, like let's just say a team does change up on you. Like all season long, teams have been thinning you out, right? Then all of a sudden, Philly one day decides, you know what? They've been doing pretty well against us in these empty sets. How about we go strong against them? We forced them to put more linebackers on the field. How are they going to respond? And having a guy like Ched Muma in that kind of situation would really help you out a lot because then you could have your 3 set up and be ready to go just in case that situation is brought to you. So that is my best case scenario. And then what positions have we filled, Hall, that would make you the best case scenario?
Best case scenario would be if they could somehow trade back in the first round to like that 15, 16 to like 20 range with Pittsburgh at 20, and they could still somehow get a guy like Chris Olave or who's going to be on the board while receiver?
Drake London, Treylon Burks.
Yeah, Treylon Burks will still be on the board right there. Drake London might still be there. I feel like he would probably go a little bit earlier than that.
You picked him at 4 in the first mock draft that we did. So.
Or honestly, I know Jamison Williams, the guys are getting a lot of buzz, but maybe he's still there on the board.
Did you see his workout video?
Yeah.
The one from the other day?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, did you see the stepladder, dude? Oh my goodness, he looked fantastic.
Dog, and I'm saying, like, I seen something back at the combine that said that
I remember that.
even like pre-combine, that he was like, his goal is to be pretty much like almost like 80% back by like training camp. And then I know the reports coming out now, the teams have him saying that they did their medical on him, and by like early October he could be back on the field. Some teams said late October, early November. So kind of like that second, third quarter of the season. And if you're a team that is already set at wide receiver, and you can get a guy like Jameson Williams to come in and give you that second, third quarter push of the season into the playoff push, I mean, that's literally, you talk about luxury and gravy on top. That would be probably my dream scenario. If they can kind of trade back, still get a playmaker, and recruit some of those picks to kind of build the roster out even more with younger guys, that's my dream scenario.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you. I watched a little bit of film on John Mechie today because I asked Twitter, like, what are some prospects I should watch film on today? And Ken Johansson reached out and he said Trevor Penning, and then he said John Mechie. So I was watching John Mechie's film. I am intrigued by John Mechie. His hands do concern me a little bit. But when you're watching that film, dude, Jameson Williams just pops out. I mean, those catches that he comes out with, it almost reminds me of Justin Jefferson in the way where his hands are like mitts, especially far away from his body. You know, it's like, it's not like he's concerned about catching everything near him. Everything is like, it seems like a glove. It's just perfect, natural catcher of the football. And then when you see him deep downfield, it's almost Madden-esque, the way that he matches up against these deep field safeties and corners, being able to run routes against zone coverage, knowing where the outlet is. Dude, I think Logan is 100% right in being like saying Jameson Williams matches up perfectly with what Carson Wentz brings. Yeah. And I know I said that a couple months ago because like I had a tweet that said, look, I know his pre-draft injury, he's the first wide receiver taken off the board. No question about it. I would say even top 5 just based off the talent alone. But given
he'd be going to Atlanta or New York, like those top like
exactly.
Right.
And like, but that combined with Carson Wentz's arm, I mean, it automatically that's a super weapon that you would have here.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the injury concern, and you'd basically be saying, would the fan base be okay with drafting a player that won't be contributing early on, a lot like last season? Would they be able to handle that? And as much as that is a stupid and trivial question to ask, because you shouldn't care about what the fans think, but in the same breath, you need fans to show up and everything. So I understand there is a PR aspect to it.
Yeah, but to that point though, he wouldn't be a day one like high impact player, obviously, but you're still getting contributions from him this season at some point. And honestly, you talk about tells and like what you kind of try to decipher what Ron Rivera and like those guys talk about. Well, if you're that confident in your wide receiver core that we got playmakers, we got enough guys to do it, maybe you do take a chance. You do draft a guy like Jameson Williams.
As you were saying that, I was like, dude, you're right.
You got so much confidence that the guys you got now can get it done. Well, you're talking about getting another playmaker is a luxury, and it's kind of gravy on top or whatever you want to call it.
You said you wanted a wide receiver.
what better gravy on top would be the Jameson Williams gravy to add to this wide receiver core? Like you said, there's no deep ball that dude cannot run under. And with a guy like Carson Wentz, huge arm, loves to chuck the ball down the field. Like I said, if you get a guy like that in the second, third part of the season that can contribute and then make that playoff push for you and then contribute for you, and you got him on a rookie contract going forward, I mean, damn.
You're absolutely right. We'll just leave it on that note. Damn. But the next question from Jeff Miles, is it just me or do we have a habit of having 2 prime candidates a week before the draft and then we pick someone random who's acceptable but less of a big player? Last year it was Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. He said something. I don't feel like looking up spelling and alignment, and we ended up with Jamin Davis, who could still be good. I just wouldn't be surprised if we randomly take somebody like Charles Cross or something. He says at 11.
You want to talk about there being a riot at FedEx Field tomorrow? Let them take alignment at 11. You might see some stuff catching on fire inside of FedEx Field tomorrow.
Honestly, I can't even say that they're wrong for thinking that would be, because that's where the best talent is at 11, right? I mean, because the one argument is with Jamin Davis that we overdrafted based on need, right? Well, essentially, that's what you would be doing again. And so, like, that's my whole point. It's like, just don't do that. You take the best quality player there that you need. Right. And I understand that wide receiver is very coveted and everyone loves it. It's eye-popping. It's what wins games. You need to be able to put up points. But we also have to remember that you complained about it with Jamin Davis because it was a luxury pick, essentially, that it was a need and they overdrafted it. Well, that's what you're doing with wide receiver if that's not where the talent pool dictates. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just at the point where, like I said, it's a passing league, it's an offensive league, and I love Kyle Hamilton. I would not be mad if they took Kyle Hamilton. There'd be a couple grains of salt in my blood, but I'd be okay with the pick because he's a high impact player. He's a day one guy that can come in, high character, smart IQ. He's gonna impact the back end, which obviously we need help on the back end. So I have no problem with that. And then you go wide receiver in the second round. Cool. I'm just, again, my whole thing is, yes, you need guys to defend the pass. It's a passing league. You need high-end defenders to defend the pass. But you can keep defending the pass all you want, but if you're not scoring points, what are we doing? You got to score points to win the game, and that's my whole point.
The one counter argument that I have a hard time finding a argument against to this counter argument to what you just said is essentially that the quarterback elevates the wide receivers. So if you have a better quarterback under center, and they're going to make Diami Brown better. They're going to make Curtis Samuel better, make Terry McLaurin better. Essentially, that need for wide receiver goes down because the quarterback is able to transition those into points more. But that's like an argument that I have a hard time saying, well, you're wrong because we needed a, you know what I mean?
That's definitely almost a bulletproof argument, except for the fact of, and that goes
LA,
to the thing.
LA, the Rams, like they continue
exactly. That just goes to the thinking of, what do you think about Wentz? Do you think he's a guy that can elevate guys? And that's the case, then all right, cool. Then I see where you're going as far as like you're thinking for the draft. If you think that Carson Wentz is Taylor Heineke with a stronger arm and a little like, then okay, cool. You got to put the guys around him to elevate his play. So, and obviously they think high of Carson Wentz because
they traded for him.
They went out and traded for him. So,
right.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. And now the next question from our Discord chat server is from Andy Lockhart in the UK. Oi! And just to give you guys a recap to let you know that the UK draft party is going on this week in Edinburgh, Scotland. Go follow our boy Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley. Go follow all these guys. They're going to be at the draft party. They got some fantastic surprises lined up for everybody. All you UK folk, make sure you guys go and purchase your tickets to go hang out with them. It's going to be a blast, dude. I'm pissed for missing out. We had a chance to go. We had a chance to go, man.
We could have went. I know, man. I know. But hopefully,
Donnie's wedding. Yeah, Donnie's wedding this past weekend got in the way of it because I had to take off today, and then it was supposed to be this week. We were supposed to be flying out this week, and it was just with work. It wasn't meshing, man. It's unfortunate that we are not able to be there, guys. We miss you guys. I wish we were able to come out there and meet you guys. But that being said, Andy Lockhart's question is: why are the Giants looking to trade Kadarius Toney? And would you try to get him for the Commanders with a mid to late round pick?
Well, to answer the first part of that, they're trying to trade him because I guess they think he's like a bad locker room guy. I don't know like the whole like backstory about it, but I know he was injured a lot last year. When he was on the field, he wasn't the best contributor, I would say. Like he had his games where he put up pretty decent numbers, couple catches, like a lot of catches, a lot of yards here and there, but he wasn't consistently doing it. The injury thing, and again, maybe it's a character thing that Brian Daboll just came in and said, "You're not the type of guy that I want on my team," so maybe they're going to try to trade him. But as far as giving up a late to mid round pick, if we didn't have Curtis Samuel, I would think about it. But the fact that we have Curtis Samuel, it kind of they pretty much have the same skill set.
Yeah,
he's a slot guy that's kind of like quick twitch. You line him up in the backfield.
Yep. That was the big reason why I wanted him in the pre-draft process, is because he reminded me a lot of what Curtis Samuel did in Carolina with Scott Turner. So I was like, okay, well, hell yeah, they'll bring him in here because he can do the same thing.
And that's what I was going to say. I'm pretty sure that these guys had a pretty high grade on him last year going into the draft because, again, he has that Curtis Samuel skill set. But if you're getting Curtis Samuel back this season, healthy, supposedly, he's going to contribute this season. It'd be kind of stocking up on a position that we could use it. We could use those picks for other positions that have needed to fill the team.
Yeah, and look, and one way for me to correlate it, Andy, the best way is like, let's say you were a new boss, right? You got hired to come in as the general manager of this dealership. Let's just say we're used car salesman, right? And you come in, you're like, all right, I see how things were. You get to talk to the employees who've been there. This is what happened. This is what went wrong. And you start seeing things. You're like, okay, I got to eliminate this, eliminate that, because I guess, in procedure-wise, not people, but eliminate these procedures because they're not working. They're not getting the best out of these guys. And let's say you do adjust those, and you have somebody come to you and say, I'm not liking this. This is not what we do. I need to get out of here. Is that a guy you want to bring onto your team as an opposing car dealership salesperson that owns that? Would you want that guy, or would you say that guy obviously doesn't like change, and if something's going on there, do I really want to bring him on because of change of scenery and stuff is not good for him? Doesn't seem like good headspace for him to be in, for us to be able to take him. So in that breath, I wouldn't want to get him, especially for a late rounder, given the fact that we only have 6. I know I was very high on Kadarius Toney at the last draft process, but this situation going on with the Giants right now is a huge, gigantic red flag for a prospect. You should be ready and willing to do anything to win over your new GM and head coach so you can stay there and catch as many footballs as you can, given with how the ex-GM just got fired and he gave a whole bunch of money to Kenny Galladay. Say, hey, man, I'm your free guy. I'm cheap. I'll produce a lot for you. I'll actually catch touchdown passes. That's not the way he's going about it. And so for me, that takes me out of the equation completely. It's not a buy-in guy.
Right. You know, it's funny, as you were like explaining, like he's not a buy-in guy. He should be doing whatever it takes to win over his teammates and whatever. I'm just sitting here like, damn, this was everybody's argument against Carson Wentz when he came here. Like,
you should have kept that to yourself, dude. My goodness. 'Cause now you're like, damn it, you're right.
Yeah.
All right. Now our next question is from Twitter, and this is from our guy, Commander OC, Orange Crush 92. And this one's a hard one, Hall. So you might want to write this down. We trade back to 26, and I forget who 26 is.
I think the Patriots?
No, Patriots 22. 26 is after the Cardinals. I think that might be Buffalo. No, Buffalo's 25. No, yeah, Buffalo's 25. I forget who. I think it might be Green Bay. Essentially, he said we trade back to 26 in the first round. There's Kyle Hamilton, Ahmad Gardner, Derek Stingley, Garrett Wilson, Jamison Williams, Drake London, Chris Olave, Daxton Hill, and Trent McDuffie are all gone. Who are you choosing and why? So that means that Treylon Berg is still available. That would mean that Ahmad Gardner, Stingley, Booth is available. McDuffie's gone. Hamilton's gone. You still have Jaquan Brisker is there as well. What are you thinking?
So recap that because I froze like 2 seconds into your talking.
I'll tell you the wide receivers. Wilson, Williams, London, Olave.
Okay, top 4 gone. So the top 4 gone. We trade back to 26. Basically, he's saying these players are off the board. What would you do at 26?
Yes.
I probably would go Treylon Burks just because, again, I'm a guy that wants another playmaker opposite Terry. That way you can put Curtis Samuel in that kind of slot wide receiver / chess piece so that you know how to move all over the field. Treylon Burks obviously is a guy that you can put on the outside. I know a lot of people were kind of discouraged about his combines and his pro day stuff like that, but put on the tape, that's a guy that's playing in the SEC and just dominating in the SEC at Arkansas, where there's not a lot of people around him to help him out on that offense. So
that was a ranked Arkansas team this year.
Exactly. And that's a lot of it due to him because he was out there making plays. So I would definitely run up to the podium and trade in the car for Treylon Burks. I definitely think that Terry, Treylon Burks, Curtis Samuel, Logan Thomas, with Carson Wentz throwing the ball to him, I definitely think that would be a top half of the league offense.
See, I like your pick there with Treylon Burks because the one thing, like, I've talked about it before with, like, quarterbacks and prospects. Like, I like to look at these guys essentially saying, okay, with nothing around you, what can you do? Because with injuries in the NFL, sometimes teams just get depleted and you only have one guy like Terry McLaurin. Are you going to continue to fight? Are you going to continue to play hard? Are you going to be producing a lot in a big way in a superstar level in a tough division? And Treylon Burks has done that. He checks all those boxes. He continued to fight through all of those adversity with everything going on. He still was the only guy producing, was doing a great job of that. No disrespect to Arkansas and John Ridgeway. But that was a ranked team. That a lot had to do with him there. I love your pick with Treylon Burks. My only question I would bring in this scenario is, Okay, back at 26, does that mean that we're getting an extra second, maybe a third rounder? And what is your decision making there? Because I think offensive line is a big need, especially in that area, especially left guard, maybe right guard. And I would like to get a guy like Sean Ryan. Lord forbid Kenyon Green were to be able to fall to you to 47, but I find that highly unlikely. But I would love to be able to select a bona fide. When you select that guy, Kenyon Green, you know he's starting at guard. I mean, there is no other way about it, and you feel good about that. You're adding a monster there. And so if you could be able to say, yeah, I'm taking Treylon Berg here at 26, and I'm taking a guy like Sean Ryan or Kenyon Green there at 47 to solidify the offensive line, and then we'll go with these other spots like a defensive line and maybe in the third, fourth round and other avenues. I think that's a good way to go about the draft process. I would feel much better about this team after the draft if you walked away with Treylon Burks and one of these starting guards like Sean Ryan and Kenyon Green. I think those guys would be huge assets to this team because I'm more focused on being able to produce starters at these different positions with the picks that we do have. Because having 6 there and then having quality picks with it, because you don't want to be set in the position like you said, like let's say we take Kyle Hamilton. And then you're essentially right by saying you're stuck with taking a wide receiver in the second, right? Because that's where the quality of the talent is. And that's not the position that you want to be put in. You want to be put in the position where you're saying, okay, I feel good with where we are. We can add a starter here and without losing anything really. And being able to have more picks to be able to supplement the other depth around the team. That's where I'd be most focused on. So I like your pick there with Treylon Burks. I wholeheartedly agree. Now, the next question that we have is from Scott Hartley, and he wants to put this little caveat in there, brother, that it's a deep one, all right? We're going to end this show with this. If you went back 20 years but stayed the same age that you are now and had the life knowledge you have now, what 3 things would you change and why?
Change like in my life?
Yeah, so basically you went back
20 years ago.
You went back in 20 years. You're the same age that you are now. You have the same knowledge of life and everything that you have learned over this. What are 3 things you're changing in between these 20 years?
So that would be 2002.
I'm like 12 years old running around.
I would change, and I'm the same age, right? So I'm still 34.
This guy, Al Lynch, responded on Twitter to Scott. He said, I would buy Apple and Amazon stocks.
Yeah, no, I would definitely like look into some stocks and put some money into stocks.
Yeah.
I would definitely probably getting into coaching a lot sooner. Like as far as like, 'cause I've always wanted to like get into coaching. I just haven't found like the right time to do it or the right situation to do it in. So I would just kind of you know what, just go all in and try to get into coaching. Those are probably the main 2. I'll definitely buy into some stocks to kind of get my portfolio and stuff like that up because when I was younger back then, I didn't care about any of that stuff. And I would get into coaching sooner because I love the game of football.
Yeah. Well, first thing I would do is go back in time and kill that Stingray right before it got Steve Irwin. Gotcha. Give me my boy back. And then the second thing I would do is probably join the military just based on where I am now, things I've learned and everything. I feel like should have done that at an earlier age, without a doubt. And then the third thing, what would I go back and change over time? I don't know. I would try to convince Snyder to sell the team. I don't know.
Yeah, I would try to like accumulate a bunch of money.
Nope. I know what it is. I would go back 20 years in the past, and I would tell Sean Taylor to move the hell out of Miami. I would tell him to come back up to Virginia. I would tell him to come back up to Virginia.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
Also, I would go back in time and I'd tell Dan Snyder, you don't know what you're doing. Get to the back and just sign checks. You don't know what you're doing.
That wouldn't have helped.
I know. All you can do is try.
Did you see Dre's Twitter today? He talked about how Kevin Sheehan, I think, on 980 had Vinny Serrato on.
I listened to part of that, and I was just like, what are we listening to right now?
Like, Vinny Serrato was, like, screwing up his dates and, like, times and everything that happened. And I wonder why that's the case, bro.
Right. Nah, trust me. I listened to, like, the last maybe 5 to 7 minutes of it that he played the first part of the interview. At first, I was like, who is this talking? Like, this voice sounds so familiar. Then he said the name at the end of it, and I was just like, because he was jumping all over the place and, like, telling these stories and
shocking.
I was just like, this makes so much sense. Click, X out of this. Click, goodbye.
Oh my goodness, it makes too much sense. And that guy was making football decisions. Oh my goodness.
Man, what a time to be alive.
What
right?
a time, dude. And like we thought we were in good hands. You know what Oh, that's so messed up to think back on, man. Hey, everybody, it's draft week, though, man. Let's get excited. And we will be there on Thursday for you guys at FedEx Field, recording live. We have some surprises for you folks. So hopefully you guys come and join us and being able to hear us out here at there at FedEx Field, because Hall wasn't able to be with me there last year. We did it through Zoom. Reed is going to be there with us as well. So we're going to have the full crew coming with us on Thursday to FedEx. Hopefully we'll get to see you guys out there. Come up and say what's up to us. We'd love to be able to chat with you guys and just, be able to chat some ball a little bit with you. All right, everybody.
Are we gonna give what we think our pick's gonna be on Thursday, or are we gonna do it now?
You want to do that?
No, we can do it Thursday because Reed will be there. So,
No. It's fine. If you're feeling yourself.
No, because we're gonna record before the draft starts, so that we can.
You don't know that.
Up to the draft.
You don't know that.
No, that is true. No, you're right. I don't know that. I don't know. All right, we can do it now. We can do it again on Thursday.
All right, what is your feeling right now? Because I'm telling you, by every day that goes by, my whole opinion changes.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stick, even though my gut is probably saying Kyle Hamilton. I'm gonna stick with my heart, and I'm gonna go. A lot of the smoke has been around Drake London, so I'll go Drake London.
Yeah, I agree with you. After watching the tape on Drake London today, I think Drake London is the pick. Based on that, he's obviously a jump ball wide receiver. That basketball background obviously pays huge dividends deep downfield. And then also, but he's not scared to go over the middle, to go short middle. He has good hands there. He takes short, intermediate routes and turns them into a big gain, being able to turn 5-yard out routes into first downs just based off getting the ball to him. And that's something that, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers are just so good at doing. How many times did you see Aaron Rodgers just throw that 5-yard hitch to Devontae? Devontae makes one move and gets the first down. Meanwhile, it takes us 4 downs to get a first down with a QB sneak at the end. You know what I mean? It's like it kind of shows you what good quarterback play and wide receiver can do for you. And I think Drake London is that guy, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chris Olave isn't either. I know there's been a lot of smoke around each of them, and I think Ron Rivera is very, very smart in the way that he's playing this, and there could be a lot of truth to it, but I think Michael Phillips is absolutely right with what he talked about earlier. It's a toss-up, man. We really don't know. But I'd be happy with any of these playmakers that are up there, even offensive line. I can understand why they would go there because you're adding quality to this team. And that's all I'm about, is being able to put somebody on this team that can produce in a big way. And I feel like that's just going to make the team better regardless of where that pick is. I'm sorry, Hall. I know you don't feel the same way, but I would.
I know. Look, if they pick offensive lineman, first of all, I'm not going to lie. I would be salty that you picked the offensive
So would I.
But like you're right. It would definitely improve the team. He's a day one guy, the day one starter like everyone wants. It's just, you know how it is. It's not the flashy pick, so everyone's going to get pissed.
Of course. And I know everyone was pissed about the Sheriff pick, but then everyone was kind of pissed that we were paying Brandon Sheriff $18 million. And it's when you're that good, that's what you get. You know what I'm saying?
Look at what he left. He went to Cincinnati, or did he go to Cincinnati?
No, he went to Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah. Look at Jacksonville. Look what he got there.
See what happens when you go to Jacksonville. You step foot down there, and everyone forgets about you.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle. We'll see you guys. Remember, we will not have a Friday episode, so this episode will be on Thursday. We'll be coming to you live from FedEx Field on draft night. I hope you guys are able to watch it and join us. And if you're out there, come out and say what's up to us, man. We'd love to be able to speak with you. All right, I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys on Thursday. Washington football. Woo! Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched theburgundyzone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!